Art Smart Shorties with Mr. Craig. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Art Smart Shorty with Mr. Craig. I'm Mr. Craig, and I represent the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Green Bay, specifically the Youth Arts Initiative, which is a super cool endeavor that I've been part of, and we've finished 4 comic books and a graphic novel. Yeah, that's a lot of work. We also finished, we're in the process of creating a comic about our coronavirus epidemic life. The life that we had during this epidemic, which is crazy. I finished 12 pages for a contest, so that's something pretty cool. But we're not here to talk about comic pages today. No, we're here for an Art Smart Shorty, right? Yes, you are. And today's Art Smart Shorty is we're going to continue with our shading processes. We've shaded a square, which became a cube. We've shaded a cylinder, which can also become a cone or a funnel, depending on how you do it. Today, we're going to do the toughest of them all, a circle or a ball or a sphere. So the thing that we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves a normal sheet of paper, and this again is just for practice, so we can learn, and then find something that's got a circle to it, like the bottom of a can, or try not to get an actual ball, because to trace an actual ball is pretty tough. But if you look at that, it gives you kind of an idea of what we're trying to do, how we're trying to create some type of a roundness to it. It's a very tricky thing because here we see 2 light sources because we see 2 shadows. See that? 2 shadows. So I'm going to put that to the side. And I've got this nifty little jig here, which is a weird little protractor type device that tells me what angle things are at. And I'm going to use that to trace a circle. And my circle might be a little bit big, and my goodness, it might be a little sloppy. But this is going to give me my starting point. And the thing that we want to think about now, if you remember our shading scale that we made way back when, our shading scale is important in that it breaks down the steps for us. So we learn how this thing is actually going to be put together. We used that. It wasn't something, again, that you'd ever see in an art gallery. So they're not that beautiful, but it helps you as a tool. So our highlight, where the light is going to be hitting something the brightest, where the most light is concentrated, is going to be up in this area. I'm going to imagine that the light source is coming down from here. And so the light source is going to hit our circle, and it's going to hit it like actually a perfect circle would be. But when we're looking at it with perspective and volume and value in mind, it becomes an oval. So unless that flashlight's being directed by us, pointing it straight at that object, then we'll see a circle of light. But no, we're going to see an oval of light here at the top. And right now I'm going to make that very light, and it becomes like an olive. And then the next step kind of goes a little wider. Still, we get it close to the top. And that's our 0, our 1, our 2, our 3, and then our 4s and 5 can kind of be in this back part. But basically this is a guide to kind of help me figure out how that's going to be shaded. And now I'd like to, when I'm doing my circles, I try to go and hold the paper so that it works with the twist of my hand. My hand can actually swivel, and it makes the drawing that much more accurate and smooth. So I'm going to actually start applying some of my darker stuff in here. I'm going to jump up to some of the darker tones and save some of my lighter tones for the end, because they become a rather tricky little devil to try to tame. And you can see that I'm trying to go with get rid of the lines. We don't want to see the lines anymore. We want to see a smooth transition of tone from light to dark as we're going here. And again, this is when we start talking about the elements of design, we're talking about value here. So our value change is going from a 0 to probably a 5, maybe even a 7 if we darken it enough. but you can see where the shape becomes almost like a moon shape, a half moon shape, where we're softly shaping it into the side. And again, I'm trying not to use too much heavy pressure. I'm letting my pressure, my tone build up on me. Build it up, build it up, build it up. And now I'm going to go down into this darkest part. And the weird thing with a ball is that oftentimes light sources will reflect up onto it. So there might be a lighter edge right around here than at the other side of the ball. So we're going to try to keep that in mind. If you don't create that little light edge, it still works. It still will look like an object. It'll still have volume, but it might be just a tiny bit less accurate. It's still, it's when I first learned this, I didn't learn about this little highlight edge on the side. And I picked that up as I've kind of developed my skills onto there. And again, it's still dark. It's still dark. It's not a perfectly a white light source. Although if you're reflecting, if you have a ball that is reflected onto a white surface, that white surface actually is reflecting up onto it. So it might be a little bit brighter depending on the color of the surface that the ball is sitting on. If it's sitting on a black surface, yeah, you guessed it, it's not going to be seen at all. You are right. Good observation. Good job. And I see a little bit of a line there that I don't like, so I'm going to try and blend it out. And turning my page as I'm doing this, just kind of working it with the natural direction of my hand. And I can kind of go in here with a little bit of feathering right at the edge of the ball to get that nice clean edge then too. And kind of darken the edge of the ball or the sphere or the globe. And now I'm going to get up into my lighter areas, which is real tricky, and I want to be real careful with how I do that. And the first thing I want to do, and now watch, I'm going to cheat. I'm actually going to go in here, and I'm going the wrong way. I'm shading up into the sphere. You know, that's not the way the light works. Well, I'm going to blend it in a little bit more later on. This is just kind of a sloppy, quick way of filling in a rough bit of tone. And now I'm going to go in here and try and smooth it out so you really can't see. Ultimately, you don't want to see the direction that your shading is going if you're trying to create something that looks very photographically real. Sometimes that's the goal. Sometimes you want to try to make something that looks like a drawing. Somewhere down the trail, somebody told me something very interesting, where it's like if you're creating a drawing, don't make it look like a photograph. Have something in that drawing that'll always let people know that it's a drawing. So that might mean you have to have some of your line work showing, just to kind of give it some character and let the originality of the media, the tools that you're using, let that stand out. So you can see that I'm still shading and building my tones up. And I've got my dark tones, and now I'm working up to my middle tones. And the hardest of all is our light tones, and I'm going to try to shade some of that in there. And here's where I got to start being real careful, because this is where my tones will start to mush up, where I'm getting my finished little parts. But we also have a tool at our disposal that can always help us a little bit, and that is our eraser. Especially when we're dealing with our super uber light tones, the eraser can really come in and help us quite a bit. So I'm going to shade up in here, and I'm building up some tone, and again I'm trying to create it so that it looks like you can't really see which direction the lines are going. Although I can see it right now. Maybe did not do it as well as I should have, but it's working pretty good. Getting this a little bit more, darken my edge, and go across the top. And again, if I were doing this for an assignment or something that I was going going to use a little bit later, I would maybe take my time a little bit more. And we can also use a couple different colors on this, which is going to help out quite a bit. I might very well be doing a demonstration of a fruit very soon that will let us use a little bit of color. I'm going to get a little bit more shading in here, a little bit of the darkness in here a little bit more. And we're seeing a very rounded shape as it's breaking down here. Rounded. And now if I want to, I can go in here with my eraser and just lighten out some of these areas where I had a line, and go back in and maybe fill in just a little bit. So we have our sphere, or our ball, kind of shaded in. And then look at it. Stop, take a look, and I can see there's a shading area right in here that's maybe a problem, and right underneath it that I could possibly darken or rectify that by adding a little bit more tone in there, gently, building it up. Not using my Hulk strength yet, gang. I'm using my ninja strength. And I learned recently that using both is very important. Sometimes you want to use your ninja skills, where your pencil is a tool that you really want to use gracefully. And other times you want to, boom, make Hulk line. And like the edge of this circle is a Hulk line, and you can see that because it's rather clunky. And the rest of this is just a little bit softer, a little bit smoother, a little bit more gently changed. And hopefully you can see how this looks a little bit more like a circle. And now if this light source was coming kind of at this, the shadow underneath it would be a little bit of an oval as well. So I'm going to try to get that in there. And again, your shadows, some people think it's just one tone. Rarely is a shadow going to be just one tone. There might be a number of different tones in that shadow alone that really can benefit you by looking at it and studying it. I did a drawing for college once that I didn't even draw the still life. I just drew the shadows that were up on the wall because it was equally as challenging and interesting in the long run. So here we go. Here is a circle made with some volume, and it becomes no longer a circle, it becomes a ball or a sphere or a globe. All right, gang, that's how you do it. Let's see you guys practicing, because this is going to build onto other skills that you're going to use. My name is Mr. Craig, and I represent the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Green Bay, specifically the Youth Arts Initiative, and you have just learned how to shade a circle. It's going to take a lot of practice, though. Keep at it, and until then, we'll see you guys soon with your next Art Smart Shorty.